Welcome back to the All Things Sports Podcast. I am your co-host, Small Town EP. In the week where the Timberwolves hand the Celtics their first loss of the season, Victor Wembanyama has an unhistorical Madison Square Garden debut. LeBron returns to South Beach, and Atletico Madrid puts up two field goals in Champions League group stage. ATS is here to give you the real in sports. As always, I'm joined by some usual suspects. Ev, it's good to have you back. How you feeling tonight?
Feel great, feel great. As you can see, it's nice and quiet. No extra sounds here. So I'm all yours. So I feel magnificent tonight.
It is. We're glad to have you, man. We're glad to have you. And the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Heat in Five himself. See you soon, June. Wait, Julian. How you doing up in New York today, man?
It's nice, man. Everything's great. I'm not too good because Heat and Five is a thing, but Tyler Hero seems to get hurt when we need him, and boy, we'll talk about it.
Well, I'm sure all of us are doing much better in the city of Los Angeles right now because they are going through some things. So let's head over to the West Coast. We were recording on Monday during LeBron's return to South Beach, June, where the Lake Show lost by one in Miami. In downtown Miami, I don't like saying South Beach because it's not South Beach, it's downtown Miami. South Beach just sounds cool. But they lost by one. Then they went to Houston and got blown out by a young, feisty Houston team. And then they're going to be in Phoenix tomorrow night. They're 0-5 on the road, 3-5 through 8 games in the season. And if that's not enough, Anthony Davis, street clothes Davis, injures his groin in Miami, is listed as day-to-day game time decisions for the next couple of games. If you're a Lakers fan, I'll direct this to Julian first. If you're a Lakers fan, when do you start to hit the proverbial panic button?
Um, if LeBron's on a team, so there's always going to be that glimmer of hope, you know, and belief that what you're seeing now is not going to be the product you're seeing in 2 months. You know what I mean? Um, Rob Pelinka is your GM, so there's some hope there. He does make moves last year. You could argue he won the trade deadline and made a lot of good moves for the Lakers to be able to get to the Western Conference Finals. We could all agree that Denver Nuggets team is just far better than the West. But at this point in the season, I wouldn't say you worry so much because you have a long season to get through, and injuries are going to happen. There's going to be ups and downs for every other team in the league, and you guys just have to find your identity again. The thing that I'm questioning is Darvin Ham, and if this is going to be his last season or if he'll even make it through the season.
Whew. I like that. I like that. Ev, how do you feel about these Lakers, man? Do you hit the panic button yet? 8 games into the season, with the way that they're
Um,
looking, not just 8 games into the season, but with the way that they're looking right now.
I wouldn't hit the panic button. A few reasons why. As Julian stated, Rob Pelinka was able to do a lot of wheeling and dealing to get the team right. They started 2-10 last season, so they're already better than that right now. I think one of the main concerns that they have is I think they expected a lot more from Austin Reeves coming into the season, coming off of FIBA basketball, where he played really well and kind of stood out a little bit. I think for someone like him who hasn't played that much basketball, or at least that much high competition basketball, going from a Western Conference Finals, playing in FIBA basketball, then swinging right back into the season, having to carry a heavier load than he's used to, I think that's what's affected them a little bit. He's not really putting up the production that they were expecting, that they were hoping for him or projecting. Another thing that's kind of a little concerning, but I'm not too worried, is they did overload Anthony Davis. He was averaging about 40 minutes per game before he went down with the groin injury. So I think like those two factors, they overloaded Anthony Davis. Austin Reeves just played a lot of basketball, probably the most he's ever played in his life, and is expected to be that third star or something like a third star in that lineup. I think it's been a little bit too much for him. And again, they're the LA Lakers. Every time they play whoever, they're getting the best punch. The Houston Rockets are a tough team. They're a tough coach. There's a lot of talent on that team, though they might not all know what they're doing yet. There's certainly not a lack of talent on that
Yeah.
Houston team. Miami, it's always a tough matchup. You're always going to have to fight through it when you're playing Miami. So that's two of their road losses right there. I'm not really too worried. LeBron looks great on top of all that. You know what I mean? Like he's playing out of his mind. If I was the Lakers, I wouldn't worry too much. They started a lot worse last year and were able to turn that bus around, make it to the play-in tournament, make it to the Western Conference Finals. And, I wouldn't worry too much. I think they're also integrating a lot of new guys. And when you do that, you try out a lot of things early in the season. They got a few guys right now who are playing that probably shouldn't be playing as many minutes as they should. Uh, Someone like Cam Reddish, a few other guys probably shouldn't be playing as much as they are. Maybe more of those minutes need to go to someone like Torian Prince, someone who's a little bit more experienced, has played playoff basketball and things of that nature. So I think that's really kind of their biggest their
Yeah.
biggest issue right now is that they got a few new guys that they're trying to figure it out. They got Austin Reeves coming off of a very busy summer, and they already kind of ran Anthony Davis into the ground. So I think once everything kind of rights the ship there itself, they're going to be fine.
I think real quick, just to stay on the Lakers, you know, Jared Vanderbilt hasn't even played for this team yet, right? And last year he was able to come in and be a defensive force. Um, the thing about Davis, sorry, the thing about Anthony Davis is that I get you could feel that they have overworked him and given him, a big haul, but listen, bro, that's what you're paid to do. This is what you came out of the University of Kentucky for. And whether we know your injury history or not, we're not going to expect you to just keep getting hurt. So we're paying you this money, and we're going to expect you to play as hard as you can night in, night out. Now, grand scheme of things, I always say they traded everything they traded, and they received Anthony Davis, and their hopes was to win a championship. They've done that, and they've gone to 2 Western Conference Finals. So you have to be proud of what you've been able to accomplish and acknowledge it. But at the same time, I think that when you got Anthony Davis with LeBron James, you figured that you were going to get a little bit more out of him. And it's just the history repeats itself as far as his injury history. So that's kind of just what we're seeing.
Yeah, but also
Hey,
I
it's,
think on the other side of what you're saying, yeah, you do get paid a whole lot of money to play basketball, but like it's also like why this season I'm supposed to expect it to be any different, right? So I'm running you into the ground and then oh man, I can't believe he got hurt. Of course he got hurt.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
Anthony Davis, he got hurt. That's what he does. He
yeah,
plays ball, he gets hurt.
yeah. What's the definition of insanity? Nah.
oh man.
It's not
Hey,
insanity,
and
it's
apparently,
madness.
Vegas seems to agree with you guys. I mentioned that they're in Phoenix tomorrow, and they're only 3.5 point underdogs. As we all know, 3 points is a home court advantage, home field advantage. So Vegas is saying, hey, the Lakers should bounce back tomorrow. If not win, make it at least a very close game. We'll stay in the same city, different team, same arena. The Clippers also winless on the road, 0-2 since James Harden debut, 3-4 on the season, heading to Dallas tomorrow. My question for you guys, I'll direct this to Ev first. Should Ty Lue want out of LA if this season does not pan out the way that the fans want it to?
I wouldn't say he would want out. At the end of the day, he's making really good money in a very nice city. I don't know if he would want out, but he would probably want some change, whether that be roster upheaval. I think, they fly under the radar, the Clippers, because they're not the Lakers. But that's been the real big disappointment. In 2019, they cashed in all their chips to get Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. One of those chips is Shea Gilgis Alexander, who's a first team All NBA caliber player. Proven,
Yeah.
So they cashed in all their chips, and the results just haven't bared their fruits yet. So I think for him, all those guys are kind of going into this season as potential free agents. They could all opt out. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. So I think maybe he would want to stick around with the job, but might welcome some type of roster upheaval. Now, how much roster upheaval do you want as the Clippers as an organization? They're moving into a new stadium next year. You
Yeah.
want marquee guys in that building to sell out some tickets. Marquee guys to me sound like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook, right? I just think they went all in, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out. Paul George has kind of always had an injury history.
Yeah.
You know, his last year in OKC, I think he missed about like the last 15 games, and ended this at the end of that season got 2 shoulder surgeries, one on each shoulder. You know what I mean? The history with Kawhi Leonard, we already know what it is. And the worst part about Kawhi Leonard is that when he's hurt, there's no information that you're getting from his camp or any of his people. He doesn't feel like he needs to tell the Clippers what's going on, so the Clippers
Right.
don't tell the rest of the media or anybody else what's going on. So that stinks. So then they bring in James Harden. One thing you can say about James Harden, whether he's kind of like loafing around because he wants to get out of wherever it is that he's at, the guy plays damn near every game. He doesn't miss many games. So as he said, he's not a system player. He is a system. So maybe you bring a system in that's supposed to help you when these guys are out. I think right now it's, just four guys not really trying to step too much on each other's toes. I think the pecking order will kind of bear itself out over a few weeks, over a few games, but it's going to take time. You can't just add a James Harden into your building and expect everything to go swimmingly. Though he is a great passer and playmaker, it's just he still has to learn how to play with Kawhi Leonard. He has to learn how to play with Paul George. He's played with Russell Westbrook enough to know how to play with Westbrook, but those things have to kind of figure themselves out on the floor. And the thing is, in today's NBA, where about out of the 30 teams, 22, 23 of them are actually good and can make the playoffs, you don't really get a lot of nights off to kind of mess around and figure that out.
Yeah. I mean, he also just started playing, right? This is his first two games of the season. And so you can't expect too much out of the Clippers just yet. I think they'll be all right. They are a disappointment since 2019. You would have thought they would be maybe what the Miami Heat have been in the Eastern Conference for the West. You know what I'm saying? And nobody thought that the Miami Heat, just because they got Jimmy Butler in 2019, were going to make three Eastern Conference finals and two finals. But like, my point is that Kawhi and Paul George have been there. They've done this for a few years now. Russell Westbrook and James Harden have been on successful teams themselves. I don't think chemistry is going to be the issue here. I don't think, selfishness and all that is going to be there. It's not going to be a dramatic situation in Los Angeles. However, at the end of the day, it'll just be basketball. And are they going to be able to put the talent they have together and be good teams? We'll have to give it time. I think it is gonna succeed. I think it will be good for James Harden joining them and being able to express his playmaking ability the way he wants to. And to Ev's point about them being in a new arena next year, like, hell yeah, they need to succeed, and Steve Ballmer needs them to ball out because he's got a lot of money into this. And who wants to see the Clippers of 2002 for the next 10 years? You know what I'm saying? In that arena, I forgot what it's called.
They're bringing Elton Brand back.
Yeah, so they definitely understand what's going on, and the business model is there. I think Clippers will be just fine. Do I think they're going to be Western Conference threats at a finals? Not necessarily, but I think this can be. I think this will be the best version of the Clippers since 2019.
So Ty Lue June stays in LA for another
100%.
season with a new state, with a new
Coach.
arena.
Love Ty Lue. Sorry, E. Great coach. Sorry. Ty Lue, this is far from Ty Lue's fault. The lack of play and the lack of availability he has from his stars and what he's able to do with less, especially looking at last year when Kawhi was out. And that Clippers team was playing phenomenal basketball for a good month and a half, 2 month stretch. And it was a bunch of guys off the bench just doing work. That's Ty Lue. You know what I'm saying? He's got that Eric Spoelstra type mentality where he can plug and play and figure things out and get the best out of guys. So Ty Lue will be there. He'll be the future of the Clippers, and he should have, his name already in the books for the next few years, because it ain't Ty Lue's problem.
No.
There it is. I agree with you guys. I don't think that he should leave. I think this is the beginning of something that I'm not gonna say will, but something that could be very successful. And I mean, we'll see where it goes. I think my question was geared more towards like the media attention, the drama. June, you said there's not going to be any of that. It's just going to be basketball. And if it is just basketball, I do see him staying. If it does turn into semantics and antics and things like that, I see Ty Lue as a person that stands in principles, as they say, and I don't think he's going to want to be a part of that personally. We'll take a 6-hour flight. Yeah, we'll take a 6-hour flight to the east right now. One of the biggest stories of the week. Victor Wembanyama's debut in Madison Square Garden was not the most memorable. 30 minutes, 14 points, 9 boards, 2 assists, a block. Most of his production came in the second half. I think that we can all agree that his inefficiency, while alarming, can be chalked up to nerves. I don't want to make too much of the It's not as big as I thought it was going to be. Pause, according to the, as far as the Madison Square Garden arena comments. But my question, if you're the Knicks, how much do you bank on the defensive effort you displayed against San Antonio? Or was this one of more just one off with a spotlight on Wembanyama may have trickled off into the team's performance? June.
I'm glad you came to me first because we have, one of the biggest Knicks fans I've ever met, and I want to hear him after me. I don't want to go off of what he's saying, and I will be influenced. I will say, I think this Knicks team is different, this year, and
Yeah.
I feel
Mhm.
like Ev lied to us, by the way. Ev said we're all his, and I was gonna say, "Hey, yo," but I took it. I was appreciative. I said, "You know what? We're all his. Let's do it." No, no, no. Tend to what you got to, bro. No, I'm kidding.
No,
But it's
we're good.
also
We're
ironic
good.
that once we talk about the Knicks, now you're not. You know what I'm saying? Now you're not free. But jokes aside, I think this Knicks team is uh is starting off really, really exciting, and they have a lot of good basketball ahead of them. I think people think I'm a hater, like a Knicks hater. I hate the Knicks. Like Julian is a Heat fan,
I
and he
don't
was
think.
talking all this shit. My thing is, just to clarify, Knicks Heat. There's something there. No disrespect, we view them as a little lesser, and until said otherwise, we'll get there. But I like the Knicks. When the Knicks are good, basketball's fun. Like when the Garden's rocking, who don't want to watch ESPN Friday night? Knicks Celtics or a Knicks Philly. Like those are fun games. And seeing Spike Lee, Spike Lee became irrelevant in the last 5 years because he hasn't been cheering as hard as he normally would when the Knicks are good. But back to the original question, I think this is a real thing that the Knicks have. They have a really good defensive team. Guys like R.J. Barrett, Quentin Grimes, who's coming into his own more as a shooter and a 3 and D. I'd give him 3 and D, and the effort. I think there's more so effort than so much talent. There's a lot of talent in New York, and there's a lot of uh, chemistry and good energy, but there's effort when we're talking about this Knicks team, and we're not talking about every single player. If you want to count out 30, we'll do that. We'll give Julius Randle some nights off. But when you look at I Heart being six man off the bench, you know what I'm saying, for that team, and being maybe the best backup center in the league. Um, you got to give credit to them for just continuing to grind and continuing to grow in their roles. I forgot the exact question you gave, but as far as defense, I don't think this was a Wembanyama got nervous in the moment on his debut in the Garden. I think he struggled. I think that he's 19. At the end of the day, he played in MSG for the first time. There's a little bit of that. We're all human. But at the same time, he did it his debut. You know what I'm saying? He balled in his debut, and he's balled every other game. So I'm not gonna equate that loss and that struggle to him. I would give credit to the Knicks for beating the shit out of a team they were supposed to beat the shit out of, and I'll pass that to Ev.
Yeah, nah. There's definitely nerves there that are going to play in there for Wemby. It's his first trip to the Garden. I'm sure he'll get his at some point in time in Madison Square Garden, because I do believe he is generational talent that we all believe him to be. Now, that's enough glazing when it comes to Wemby. On to the Knicks.
Yo.
Their top two defense by all measures in the NBA since the season started. So it's very legit that they would be able to kind of lock down the youngest rotation in the NBA at home. It would only make
Exactly.
sense. You would only expect them to do that. I think in terms of the Knicks looking different, they absolutely do look different, but not too different. When you think of it, no, they are. I believe as far as combined minutes played for core players in the NBA, only one team has more combined minutes. That's the Golden State Warriors. So this core of the Knicks have now been together for about 5 years. If you're talking about R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson in particular, they've all been on the Knicks for 5 years. I've been a Knicks fan for a really long time. I can't tell you how many times somebody's been on the Knicks for longer than 5 years, let alone three guys at the same time. So you got Emmanuel quickly in his fourth year with the Knicks. Jalen Brunson, who's now kind of the captain of the ship now in his second year, and he's brought his boys with him, Villanova boys, people that he's already have a good rapport with, he's played with, he's won with. You know what I mean? So I think the continuity that the Knicks are bringing into the season has been huge. The they're 4-4, so it's not like the record shows that there's some great force. But two of those losses came without RJ Barrett, who's really looked awesome this season. Uh, Most times he's historically known amongst Knicks fans for starting the season slow. And we always, we always get to, all right, in January, RJ will start balling. No, no, no. He's balling right now in October, in November. His shooting percentages is he's shooting 47% from three, 85% from the free throw line. Just things that we haven't seen out of him yet. And I think that's really been the driving force of what looks super different about the Knicks is that RJ Barrett looks like a third overall draft pick. It took a little bit of time. Granted, things are a little bit wonky. For as much, the Knicks are a really good team. They've been constructed really well. No, we don't have that high end, you know, stick on a poster, talent that, marquee talent that everyone wants to come and see. But we have a lot of really talented guys that are just gelling together at the right time. The Knicks had the hardest schedule starting the season in their first 7 games. So you're about to see that kind of ease up on them a little bit with Charlotte, I believe, coming up twice in the next few games, Atlanta. So there's going to be actually more wins to kind of put onto the meat there. Pause. But all in all, the Knicks, that was not a symptom of Wemby, the lights being too big for him. It's the second ranked defense in the entire NBA who's had an incredibly tough schedule to start the season. They've already played Milwaukee. They've already played Boston. They've already played New Orleans for all the talent that they got. They played Atlanta already. So they've already played some really tough teams. They played the Clippers, and they were still the second ranked defense in the entire NBA. It's just a really good defense taking care of business against a young team that's not really ready and it's kind of not equipped to win yet.
Hey, and we'll see the Knicks again on Sunday afternoon when they host the Charlotte Hornets, and I do think that they will take care of business on Sunday as well.
Yeah, hopefully the Hornets, they get into the city, Saturday, Friday night, get 2 nights out in the city, and the Knicks take care of business.
There you go. Gentlemen, the power of zero in the loss column goes a long way. Just ask the Celtics, who, as I mentioned in the intro, and we talked about on Monday's episode, June, were undefeated going into Minnesota. Now, the Timberwolves went into that same contest undefeated. Minnesota. The Timberwolves went into that same contest undefeated at home. Ant-Man and company put on a show in overtime, came out victorious. Ant-Man does it again last night against New Orleans. What should the Timberwolves take from the performance this week in order to pick up their first road win tomorrow in San Antonio? Ev.
I think the Timberwolves have found the right configuration of their team. And it needs to run through Ant. He's the guy. I mean, he's an incredible interview after the games. He was talking about how Jason Tatum was kind of chatting at him during the tip off of overtime, pulled him out for an ISO, and he was like, "Bro, I play defense. What are we talking about?" He's always up for a challenge. Like he's really just one of them ones, and it's just showing itself a lot this season. There's been no issue of Cat and Gobert sharing the same floor this season.
Right.
Not only have they beaten the Celtics, but last week they beat the snot out of the Nuggets. The only loss the Nuggets have had, and they beat the mess out of them. And some would say that the Timberwolves probably gave them the hardest series throughout the playoffs last year as well. So it seems as if they kind of removing D'Angelo Russell at the trade deadline last year, getting more of a floor general and Mike Conley, it's kind of alleviated the way certain things kind of run on the team in terms of pecking order wise. And now goes Ant, then Cat, then Gobert. And even now with Cat, I think he's only averaging about 15, 16 points on the season. So his numbers are way down, and it's not affecting the Timberwolves in a negative manner by any means. I just think it's one of those NBA coming of age stories. Anthony Edwards, one of those dudes. And I think that's just going to continue to show itself throughout the course of the season. And it's not like one of those dudes like, oh man, they're going to make the plan. Like, nah, like the Timberwolves have all the potential now to be a top team in the West because Anthony Edwards is one of those guys.
Yep. I'll just kind of piggyback off of that. The first point I was going to make, and the reason I waved my hand, like remember in school when teacher asks a question, you want to be the first one to answer it?
Oh yeah.
It's like Anthony Edwards is the future of the NBA. That's where we've gotten to at this point. And the Timberwolves have to understand. I'm not going to say if they do or don't, but you asked me what they should take away, and one of the main takeaways is that Anthony Edwards is going to be a top 3 player in this league soon enough. I don't know when that date is, but it's coming. We've seen the production grow. We've seen him go from 19 points a game his rookie year to now in his 4th year, 27.9, 28 points a game. He's complete with 6 rebounds and 5 assists a game. He's doing it at every angle. He's a defender, like he said, Ev said. Game on the line, guard to guard, Jason Tatum, one of the league's best scorers, and he just locks him up. The thing about Anthony Edwards that separates himself from guys like LaMelo Ball, top picks like, Luka Doncic even. The guy wants everything. He wants the challenge, like Ev said. He wants to be the guy that his teammates look to and say, we need your help right here. Come get us out of this jam. He wants that role, and he embraces the fact that the Timberwolves are not a proud franchise. You know what I mean? That's one of the more sad franchises in the league, historically speaking, especially looking at how they handled the KG situation to, just them being in the trenches and NBA purgatory for the last 10 years. Everybody made fun of the Gobert trade. 5 first-round picks, rightfully so. It's crazy on paper. But this is probably what they imagined. Top defense in the league. Ev said the Knicks are the 2nd best defense. The Timberwolves are the number 1 defense in the league. And they're playing like it lights night in, night out. And I think that they just understand what they can be, And I think it's different when you're playing kind of blindly to, like, yeah, we have Anthony Edwards. Yeah, we got Cat. Yeah, we got Gobert and D'Angelo Russell. Like, there's a bunch of talent on that team in the past. But when you understand, like, yeah, we can beat the Celtics and take them to overtime and win that game, we can go and take Denver. These are big moments early in the season that are only going to help the mentality for younger players on that team and the veterans on that team to just continue to see what you can be. So, again, my main takeaway is that Anthony Edwards is a top 5 player in the next few years. And Anthony Edwards versus Luka Doncic, I might be team Ant-Man soon enough is what I say. And it's like, I love to see it because he's also, like, to Ev's point, a personable guy. Like, this guy is just a normal human being who's an amazing baller. He's just an Atlanta kid or a Georgia kid, who happens to be an amazing basketball player. But
his dog has an Instagram page.
Yeah, the personality's there, the effort is there. And it's like if Jimmy Butler had like an immense offensive skill, We'll leave it there.
There it is. Listen, before we transition over to the NFL, I want to talk about one thing, and it has to do with the Milwaukee Bucks are part of it. They are down by 6 at the half, dameless game in Indiana right now. We did see Giannis ejected yesterday for what looked like a routine dunk. In the NFL, good transition, we've recently seen June, take one for me, please. We've recently seen players be fined for what looks like routine plays, truck stick from a running back, a couple of hits that are, people are getting fined. Ev, would you say that the sports refs in general are becoming softer or safer?
I think that's a good question because especially with the Giannis play that got him kicked out the game, he already had a tech in the bag. He basically got a block on one end, grabbed the rebound,
bro,
came down the court.
What a fucking play, bro.
Dunked on someone, called them small to their face, and got a tech. If you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Come on.
That's what the fuck we supposed to be doing here.
Come on.
No, you don't throw Giannis out from that.
Ev, I hate to cut you off, bro. But when I noticed, I said, bro, the man just blocked this man, went coast to coast, and Isaiah Stewart, this is the guy that they said run like Isaiah Pacheco on a first down, trying to attack LeBron James. He just dunked on his head. Would you not be as hype as Hulk if you did that?
You get the block on one end, grab your own board, you run down court, you Euro step, dunk.
Come on.
You throwing him out the game?
And I mean, that, and you said he had a tech already. You know what I'm saying? So obviously that has to do with that. But I think when a player has his first technical foul, if you're a ref, you have to show some discretion. You know what I'm saying? Like, grow up. Grow up. It's Giannis. You know he's not a guy that has a track record for being, anything malicious or any over, excessive type of guy. Two, understand, like we just spoke about this. Understand the circumstance, bro. The emotions, of course, they're gonna be high. Did he disrespect anyone? Did he get physically, too much? No. NBA they have a problem with their referees. I'll say that the MLB, I think, has the worst problem right now as far as officiating and their umps and the ego that's running through missing balls and strikes was horrible this year. And I don't know if it was because the pitches were coming faster, but balls and strikes were crazy. We saw Aaron Boone, who's no longer a GM, Aaron Boone drawing fucking lines outside of the zone and giving his animation to, guys getting thrown out.
Aaron Boone got the axe?
Not yet, but it's coming.
I hope so. As a Yankee fan, I hope so.
It's coming. Well, manifestation is real. And so understanding that I am a Red Sox fan, it's gotten so bad in New York that I want change for them. I would like to see them do better. So it's more of that. Baseball season finished. We didn't win it. Yankees didn't even make the playoffs.
What about in the NFL, gentlemen?
Yeah, and I was gonna bring up the DeAndre Swift thing. Like, a running back who's paid to get as many yards per play as he can by putting his shoulder down and his head down and taking the hit for the team for the most of the game. I didn't see anything malicious out of DeAndre Swift's act or his truck stick, whatever you want to call it. But boy, getting fined damn near six figures almost.
After the game. So someone looked at the tape and then fined them. That's ridiculous. Now, when a referee or umpire in NFL misses a call or calls something unnecessary roughness in real time, sometimes I can get that. You might not have seen that. No, that was actually his helmet hit the shoulder or something like that. That I understand. But after the fact, you watch the tape and you was like, no, yo, go get something out that man's check. That was wrong. That's wrong. What are we doing?
Definitely. Someone played for free that day.
Give me that game check.
Give me that, give me that game check. All of the mishaps and we want you here, we want you to play, but not too hard now. Relax. Rodney Harrison was on a podcast today and said that it's becoming safer and it's better for the game. I'll leave that there. Shout out to Rodney Harrison, Hall of Famer football player. We'll transition over to the NFL. And I'm going to start with June because I'm sure that he doesn't want Ev to answer this first, just like the next question. Is it time to start putting the blame on more than just Zach Wilson in New York, June?
Oh, you went here with it first. I think it's been more than time. I think it's never only been Zach Wilson. Obviously, Zach Wilson is the easy target. Zach Wilson should get a lot of the blame, rightfully so. This is by any means, this is not a defend Zach Wilson podcast. This is by far a Zach Wilson sucks podcast, and I'll stand on that because he does. Does he do certain things at times that you're like, bro, this is why they drafted you second? Of course. Bitch, they drafted you second. I would expect those type of plays. However, more times than not, we're seeing embarrassment. We're seeing what looks like rookie mistakes. But I'm glad you asked this question, E, because I can come on here and blame Zach Wilson week in and week out. Strip sack fumble, holds the ball too long, can't get the ball to his guys, miscommunication. Is he able to get the play call in? Obviously, we talk about football. We're not in the huddle. You know what I'm saying? We're not in the locker room. We're also not in the meetings and game planning, throughout the week with the team. But from the bird's eye view, from the fans' perspective, from an analytical point, that offensive line in New York is not a Super Bowl winning offensive line by any means. And I think a lot of the blame, if not most of the blame, should go to the offensive line. Now, we have three people that I'm blaming. Three places I'm putting blame on. The defense, you guys saved the day. I'm not even going to say nothing about the defense, because even if you do slack off, you've done a great job this season, and you're the reason that you guys have competed in games and won games. Now,
And not to cut you off, but they
yeah,
haven't allowed more than 45 yards to multiple receivers at all this season. So
the numbers talk. And so Zach Wilson, I've spoke about Zach Wilson and how I feel about him, and I still share those thoughts or those feelings. But the offensive line, when you know, so let me backtrack. My initial thought with this New York Jets team and fan base is that it's kind of annoying that I feel that they're entitled to feel like if we had Aaron Rodgers, man, we would have won the AFC. We'd be won in the AFC. And that's far from the truth, because I think that with Aaron Rodgers, whether it's hypothetical or not, this team is a struggling team with a winning record, competing in the AFC, but struggling. And that's neither here nor there, but let's be honest about the situation. The quarterback isn't the only person. The offensive line and the coaching at times in the season have been worse than Zach Wilson. And I don't have 3,000 numbers and stats to sit here and tell you guys, but those people that watch football understand what I'm trying to say. Zach Wilson is a quarterback that needs to be protected and needs to have time for him to be able to make the right reads and go through his progressions as a young quarterback. He's still young at the end of the day. I mean, whether he's good or not, he's still young. This is his third season. So give him a little break. But also, the offensive line was something that you guys were supposed to have been working on. This is something that you guys have drafted. This is something you guys made some offseason signings for. Dwayne Brown. Losing Elijah Vera Tucker hurts. Injuries suck. That's a big part. He's a huge part of that offensive line, the best player on the offensive line. And then coaching. Not trusting your quarterback 100% is going to get you in bad places at times. And so I think with Nathaniel Hackett being the guy who Aaron Rodgers called, and that was the guy, that's the reason they wanted him in New York, and that'll work next year or later in the season when Aaron Rodgers comes back, if so, miraculously. But if I'm the Jets coaches, I'm like, listen, this is what we got. And we have to make the best of what we got. I understand wanting to protect him. I understand wanting to, make things easy for him. But you guys are trying to win a Super Bowl. That's your goal still. That's what you guys come out and say week in and week out. If so, show that. Don't baby the offense for Zach Wilson because you don't know. No, give him the keys and let him make the mistakes that he's going to make or not. Ev, what else you got?
I blame coaching more than I blame Zach Wilson, honestly. There's playmakers in the offense that just can't get the ball enough. Brees Hall can't get the ball enough or in spots that allow him, to get out in space and make some plays. Garrett Wilson, the same. Like, even down to Dalvin Cook, who hardly gets any burn. Like, that's on coaching. That's on unimaginative offensive play calling. Like, there's weapons there. Granted, the biggest weapon that they would have is Aaron Rodgers, right? He'd be the focal point of getting the ball out to those weapons. Okay, we can't do that. So what are some other things that we could do? Can you configure some sort of offense where you have, maybe whether it be like run pass options, something that you could get short, quick passes out to guys who can make plays in space to make plays. I feel like every time I ever see Brees Hall, he's running for like 20 yards, 25 yards, and then he doesn't get the ball again.
Yep.
It don't make no sense to me. Every time I ever see Garrett Wilson with the ball, he's making a play, but he doesn't get the ball. You have to be able to find ways to get those dudes the ball. That's it. And, a lot of that falls on the quarterback, but a lot more of that's going to fall on the offensive play calling. And I think that's where the Jets lack the most. Has there ever been any proof that Robert Saleh is a good coach?
No. But I also believe that he hasn't had his proper let me show you guys, because he is a defensive coordinator by heart. And he did come to New York, and New York's strong suit is their defense. So I'm going to give him credit there. But being able to put it all together hasn't been the case. He did have an Aaron Rodgers promise this year that he was expecting. And unfortunately, we saw what happened 4 minutes into the season.
Some people are just defensive coordinators.
That's true.
Sometimes it'd be like that. Look
That's
at Steve
true.
Spagnuolo. He got a few head coaching jobs. And the second they put him back as a defensive coordinator, they tearing shit up. Same goes with Jim Schwartz.
Yep.
Soon as he got a few head coaching jobs. Guess what? Every time they put him on the defense, they start tearing shit up. Sometimes
what about Vic Fangio?
Vic Fangio is another one. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're just a defensive coordinator. Robert Saleh is he's a personal trainer and a defensive coordinator. That's it. You do push-ups and you write defense. Like, there's no other proof that exists in the NFL. I think this is his third year coaching that would tell me that Robert Saleh is a good NFL head coach.
Hey, real quick, let me tap into these YouTube live comments because All Things Sports always appreciates all the family in the chats, bro. We appreciate y'all and y'all watching us, tapping in with us, giving us y'all time of the day, inviting us into y'all living room. Word to Steve Harvey. But Cardi, what's up? Jay, Jason, Sal, Ray, you know what I'm saying? The usual suspects. We appreciate y'all. Y'all be in the chat, man. When we was talking about, this is funny. When we was talking about the Knicks, somebody said quickly is stepping up. Jason said talking about the Clippers. He said he's a Knicks fan. He said our defense played a lot better against the Clippers. Knicks tape shut all that shit down. Ray, shout to Ray. He said Ant-Man coming, pause. I don't know why he would type that because you can think of what you're saying while you type shit. But shout out to Ray for being in the chat. He said Giannis got 26 right now. Jason agrees that sports and refs are becoming soft, especially with the new flop tech. Cardi says fines are big business, over $1 billion in fines in all major sports. And that's a great point he brought up.
Crazy.
Over $1 billion in fines in all major sports. You have to understand how lucrative that business is and the decisions to fine a player. But yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. And if you're watching us or if you're going to listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcast, we appreciate you guys. EP, what's next?
Absolutely. Yeah, and the Jets, we have them Sunday night in Vegas. They are 1-point favorites. We'll talk more about that on this week's Sunday show. Anybody that's watching,
Can I say how sick I am of watching the Jets on primetime goddamn television? I hate to use the Lord's name in vain, but Jesus Christ.
Oh, man. For the viewers, you did hear right. We will have a Sunday show after the 4 p.m. games, recapping the 1 o'clock and 4 p.m. games. So tap into that. You'll get the link. If someone loves you enough, you'll get the link. Don't worry. You'll get it from me at the very least. All right? We're going to keep going. Listen, the Bengals, as hot as they are and on the streak that they're on, Joe Burrow, healthy, making the right reads, making the right throws. That secondary is still allowing a lot of yards this season. A lot of yards. In fact, they're letting up an extra football field more than they're actually taking in themselves. Now, my question to you guys is, they have Houston this week. They host Houston this week. Will C.J. Stroud be able to take advantage of this leaky Bengals secondary, June?
At this point of C.J. Stroud's rookie career, I think he's able to take advantage of every defense he faces. And I'm going to say that until he's proven otherwise. I mean, this kid, we saw what he did Sunday. We talked about it Monday. I'm not here to break down his rookie historic performance. We already did that. It's onward and upward. It's on to the next challenge. It's what else can you do for us? And that's how the NFL works in general. I'm proud of C.J. Stroud, and I'm excited to see what he can do. This Bengals defense, though, must say, tough defense to beat. We saw Josh Allen throw an interception and Dalton Kincaid, rookie tight end, fumble, 2 turnovers against that defense in a Sunday night football loss at Paul Brown Stadium, right? And this was also the first time they unveiled the stripe. I loved it. If you're sitting in section 242, wear black. 241, wear orange. And it looked amazing. It reminded me of my alma mater, Piper Bengals. Shout out to the Piper Bengals if you was at Piper. But, man, C.J. Stroud, right now, he's on tour. And if you ain't going to watch C.J. Stroud when you get the chance, you're missing out. So until proven otherwise, I'm not going to say that CJ Stroud is going to go in and get a win against Cincinnati because I believe he's traveling to Paul Brown Stadium, correct? He's going to Ohio. This will be
Yes,
the
sir.
first football game he plays in Ohio. That's not at the Ohio State University. So shout out to CJ Stroud. But more importantly, this is a guy who doesn't make a lot of mistakes. This is a guy who makes his teammates better. As a rookie, it takes a lot for a guy to come into a locker room and be the guy to make your teammates better, right? To improve a general how do you say that? Like if the vibe in the room is this, he's gonna make it that, right? And everybody's gonna rock with that. And that's who CJ Stroud has proven to be, along with rookie head coach D'Amico Ryans. I think he has a big part in this whole thing. I know your question was more centered around the game, and I'm going into the what CJ Stroud has been. But I think it's important that we just don't forget this is an Ohio State quarterback. This typically doesn't match or align with history. Terrell Pryor, Troy Brown, Justin Fields, JT Barrett, the late rest in peace Dwayne Haskins. Those guys didn't amount as far as NFL numbers would say they're great quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, it's been 9 weeks, granted, but this isn't fluky. This isn't something that we're not sure how it's going to look. You know what I'm saying? No, this guy's coming in, week out. We can tell he studies his game plan. He's on his shit, and he's balling. So shout out to the Texans because this Texans team, we're in on paper, are in a worse situation than the Carolina Panthers are, than the Chicago Bears are.
Yeah.
But he's getting it done with what he has. And that has to do with coaching. It has to do with quarterback play. And I believe it has to do with attitude as well. So shout out to the Texans, a division rival who, look, I'm not just a Colts fan who calls all AFC teams, AFC South teams frauds. That's the Titans. Titans got it, right? They got their own shit. The Texans had my respect with Deshaun Watson, right? The problem there was Bill O'Brien as a coach. They figured that out. They drafted a great quarterback, and now they look like they're back on the up and up. So shout out to the Texans for doing what they've got to do. And I do think they go into Cincinnati and compete and make it a great game. But Joe Burrow is just on one right now, and we're going to talk about the Bengals when we bring up that power rankings.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the Texans are 6.5-point underdogs in Cincinnati. Ev, will CJ Stroud be able to take advantage of the secondary? Do you see them at least covering 6.5 points in Cincinnati this week?
I think, to me, the 6.5 points it's just screaming backdoor cover, absolutely screaming backdoor cover. Like I can see the Bengals being up 14 or 13 or 10 with about 2.5 minutes left, and CJ Stroud just marching right down the field and making the game look a lot closer than what it is. The Bengals are super duper hot right now. Joe Burrow is dealing. I think, he started off the season hurt. You could see he wasn't able to kind of, put any type of back leg power into his throws or anything like that. He wasn't able to scramble a little bit. Not that he's like some huge mobile quarterback, but he's able to move around in the pocket, and that was a little bit limited coming into the beginning of the season. Now that leg's back and healthy, he's driving the ball with power again. He's finding all his spots, and he's Joe Cool, man. You never see him sweating. So I think the Bengals should be able to take care of business against the Houston Texans. I like the Houston Texans a lot. I like CJ Stroud a lot. I just like the way they kind of built their team. I think most of his offensive weapons are also young players, which kind of helps him kind of take on the mantle as a leader. It's a first-year coach. Everything's kind of young around him, so it makes it a little bit easy to kind of captain the ship when you don't really have a lot of OGs checking you.
Yeah.
So it works out a little well for the Texans. I think they'll be able to play the Bengals tough. That 6.5-point spread, just to me, screams backdoor cover. So I could definitely see the Texans covering the spread. I don't know if I see them winning the game, though.
I hear you. We'll see. I don't know either. I think it's going to be a good game. He's completing at least 60% of his passes in his last 5 games. So it seems like June is saying he makes his teammates better. He makes his team a little better. On paper, doesn't look all that yet. But I think we're seeing some promising things from this Houston team. Let's take it down south. I just left Florida, but let's take it to Florida. The 49ers will travel down to Jacksonville this week and play Trevor Sunshine Lawrence. I will officially dub Trevor with the Sunshine nickname. It is It is not Justin Herbert. All
I
right,
mean,
dude.
I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna lie, bro. That's you, bro. Everybody knows Sunshine is Trevor, but do you think, bro?
Now, 49ers just announced defensive tackle Javon Hargraves out with more than just a high ankle sprain. They haven't designated exactly what it is, but they said today it's much more than a high ankle sprain. Tackle getting to Trevor Lawrence. Do you guys see that being an issue? How is that going to impact the 49ers' ability to pressure and rattle Trevor Lawrence this week, June?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, this is the team that just traded for Chase Young. They've got Eric Armstead. They've got Nick Bosa. You know what I'm saying? They've got Fred Warner. I don't think they're gonna be in trouble as far as getting to the quarterback. And Javon Hargrave, I think he's had a solid career so far. I don't know that he's lived up to the expectation of the first round pick that they drafted him to be, but they have the luxury of being a great franchise and having time on their side for guys like him to develop into great players. So they'll be just fine. I think on the flip side of that is more so, is Brock Purdy going to be able to handle the pressure of that defense over there, Josh Allen and them boys?
What do you think?
I think I feel a little bad for the 49ers in terms of they they get the ball rolling and they just always have injury demons hop back up. So Hargrove being another one. They did add Chase Young to the line, so they might be able to get to the quarterback. Jacksonville, I think they're on a 5-game winning streak, so they're dealing right now. They're doing real well. Did I lose you?
No, you're good. We're here.
Oh, okay. Damn, I lost my webpage. That's why
We lost June. We're gonna get him back in a second.
Yeah. So I feel I feel like that's going to be a real tough game. The Jaguars are dealing. I just wonder how much Brock Purdy's confidence has been shaken. He's dealt with now 3 losses in a row for the 49ers. They're not really rolling downhill the way they were before. Debo Samuel's getting back in the lineup, but it's still a little bit concerning because we still haven't had our yearly George Kittle absence, which we know is about to happen. We still haven't had our yearly Christian McCaffrey absence, which we know is about to happen. And they're already 5-3. They're tied in division with the Seahawks. So, and they're playing a tough team on the road. I think they should be able to beat the Jaguars, but I'm not entirely sure. Like, if for me, this is probably a stay away game in terms of if I had to bet money line spread or anything like that. I probably wouldn't bet on that. I'd mess around with some like parlays and stuff stat wise. But I can't really pick between these two teams right now as snake bitten the 49ers look right now. And I just have a general lack of mistrust for the Jacksonville Jaguars no matter what. I don't know. There will be no rhyme or reason for it ever. Like, I don't know. I don't trust them. They're just like
even
that
when they were good,
guy.
they were kind of bad.
Yeah, like even when they're good, it's like, they went 12-4 one time with Byron Leftwich. I didn't believe in them. They went super duper far with Blake Bortles. I never believed them. They went to the AFC Championship game.
Mark Brunell had some decent teams.
Mark Brunell, they went like 15-1. They put up 60 in the playoff game before. It's just something about they're just like a shifty guy I can never trust no matter what. And for that reason, betting wise, it's a stay away for me.
He says it's gonna be no for me, dog.
Yeah, it's definitely a no for me when it comes to those teams.
Bad, not good. Good, not bad. The Niners are 3-point favorites in Jacksonville, and once again, 3 points is home field advantage in football. So they're saying that this game is just about even. I see that as well. We'll see what happens there. One of the early games of the week, in my opinion, Browns at Ravens. I'm really excited for this one. What will it take from the Browns to hand Lamar Jackson and company their second home loss of the season, Ev?
Well, the Browns have one of the toughest defenses in the entire NFL. I, to me, just think the Ravens are super legit. Like, you asked earlier about power rankings. I'd have them probably at 2, maybe one. I just think they're super
My
legit.
boy.
Lamar Jackson to me is to me he's the MVP favorite. I don't really see it for anyone else. Jalen Hurts has too many turnover
Music to my
issues.
ears, dog.
Patrick Mahomes, this has been the most boring version of the Kansas City Chiefs that we've seen since Mahomes has kind of taken over the helm there at quarterback. I just think the Ravens are that team this year. So, with that being said, the Browns have a very physical defense, a very fast defense, a great defense. The only kind of real hiccup game that they had was when they let the Colts just kind of go off for like 30 something. Shout out Julian. Um,
Hey,
so
real quick, the Colts beat the Super Bowl champion Chiefs last year. Is
they
that
did.
what we're seeing this
it was
year?
your home opener. It was your home
I'm just
opener. Come
saying.
on.
Did we see the Colts beat the Ravens, who are going to be possibly the team who wins the Super Bowl in February? Is what I'm saying.
I I have the for me. I think the Ravens are right up there as a Super Bowl team. Maybe one or two in my power rankings for myself, and they got the MVP in line. They're playing at home, right, against the Browns.
Yeah, they will be at home against the Browns.
I see them taking care of business. I just think they're rolling right now offensively. Every pass that comes out of Lamar Jackson's hands just seems like it's on the money. Honestly, probably my favorite watch in the entire NFL right now is the Baltimore Ravens. And I think they just continue to roll. There's just too many offensive problems with the Browns. I don't think they'll be able to make up the points to beat the Ravens. And then the Ravens have just beat the dog shit out of good teams this season. The Seahawks are good. They beat the mess out of
Yep.
them.
Yep.
The
Lions are
Lions are
good.
good. They beat the mess out of them. Like
Yep.
the Ravens are just beating the mess out of real good teams. And I don't see why that should stop now.
Hey, Vegas seems
Yep.
to agree with you. The Ravens are 6.5 point favorites at home against the Browns. June, what you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of piggybacking off of what Ev said. Shit, that defense, Miles Garrett is, I guess, every quarterback and offensive coordinator's nightmare. And right now, he's Todd Monken's problem to deal with. But the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, specifically, as again Ev said, he's been able to figure his way out this season, week in and week out. And um, the Ravens kind of have been the only team that could really stop themselves. That loss that they had where they dropped maybe 9 catches, that two or three of them were touchdowns. That's a win, right? And so my light just changed to red, and now it's going to, I guess it's doing what it wants. Sorry, I'll fix it later. But yeah, man, I think the Ravens are right where they want to be. Now it's just doing some random shit. That's cute. But I have to figure this out. That's crazy. Yeah, man, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are right where they want to be at this point of the season. And I'm not going to feel threatened by the Browns, understanding how good their defense is and what Myles Garrett is to this game, NFL Defensive Player of the Year. I think the Ravens can only beat themselves. I'll leave it at that. So shout out to the Ravens. Again, I'm going to stand on it every week. This is a team that I expected to be right here, top 5 offense, top 5 defense, top 10 offense, and it's exactly what it is. So credit to them and Monken. Hey, EP, real quick before we continue, Ev is out. We appreciate him for joining the show. Every time he comes on, it's fun. You got comments saying, bruh, funny as hell. People appreciate you. So what you bring is never taken for granted. We will love to see you and have you on next time. Until then, we appreciate you.
Thanks, Ev.
Bless up. Thank you guys for having me again. Thank you all the viewers. It's always good to chop it up, talk sports with solid people, know what the fuck they talk about. So for all that, y'all take care. I'm signing out.
Thank you.
EP.
Now, June, we do have, before we go to those power rankings, not that I really want to talk about this game, but I feel obligated to at least mention it because it's live right now. We do have a Thursday night football game that is live right now. Carolina Panthers at the Chicago Bears. 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Carolina is up 7-3. The line was Chicago minus 3.5. Just going to put that out there. Bryce Young, 2 for 5, averaging 1 yard per pass because he has 5 total yards.
I
Tyson
must say, I'm
Baggins.
so glad. I'm sorry, man. I must say, I'm so glad we record on Thursdays because the Thursday night football slate in the last 2 years has been atrocious. Some of the worst football we see.
Atrocious.
And whether you want to blame it on the teams that are playing and they schedule, or the fact that it's a quick turnaround and guys aren't ready to play on Thursday, these games are not exciting. It's not fun football, and typically it's like a low scoring defensive battle. So there's that.
And Tyson Baggins. Now that I don't know if Baggins. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, Mr. Tyson.
Right.
I know Tyson just recalled some chicken nuggets because of some medals that they found in them. He's 4 for 9, 47 yards though, 5.2 yards per pass. So we'll see if Bryce Young can sustain these not so good numbers tonight.
I mean,
And
it's a
at least
one
pull
in
off a
seven.
cover.
It's a 1-7 Panthers and a 2-7 Bears. Like, what are we talking about? You know, this is you should want to lose this game. Each of these teams should want to lose this game. Panthers not so much because they don't have their first round pick this year, so you know they want to see Bryce Young continue to grow in his role as a quarterback. And as far as the Bryce Young thing, just to talk about it, I know that you know, it looks bad and he's the number one pick of the draft, and was that the right choice? This, that, and the third. I think Bryce Young is a great quarterback, and he'll be fine in his career. Right now, it's a bad situation. I don't know how much Frank Reich has as far as time in Carolina, and if they're going to one and done him. He's a great guy, but at the same time, is he an amazing coach? Not necessarily. So they'll learn that, and they've
You think
already
he's
learned
fighting
that.
for his job? You think he's fighting for his job by the end of the season right now?
I mean, yeah, like you. So I think with respect, you know, owner Tepper, you know, Mr. Tepper is. I think he's an honorable guy. I don't think that he'll give Frank Reich the boot after 1 year. But at the same time, you know, you look at the situation. Y'all don't have y'all first round draft pick, and whether that was, you know, ownership's fault, because that could have been a trade that got approved through ownership and not necessarily Frank Reich. I thought Frank Reich and Josh McCown wanted CJ Stroud, and I think the Panthers wanted Bryce Young. So, you know, how much could you blame him? And I hope he doesn't get fired. You know, you don't want to see a coach go one and done, and, you know, unless it's, you know, super deserving. But give him some time to maybe try to figure things out. Or, hey, if you got to bring somebody else in, make sure that that next coach is going to be the best coach, because, you know, what are we going to be doing here? You know, what's the plan, kind of thing.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Shout out to the. Yeah, keep going. What's good?
No, I just wanted to tap into the NBA world real quick again. We got a good game with about 4 minutes left in the third quarter, 84-81. The Pacers are beating the Bucks right now. However, Giannis is on 50-point game alert. He's got 42, 8, and 2. They're down by 1 at this moment. So you got to imagine his minutes will stay high and he'll be in the game at crunch time if this continues. It looks like he'll have the first 50-point game this season. And it's just a credit to Giannis Antetokounmpo and what he is to the NBA. And you love to see on a back-to-back night. He got the night off early after getting ejected for what was a petty technical foul. Coming back strong and putting up a 40-point game, looking like he's going to get 50. Shout out to Giannis Antetokounmpo and the best player in the NBA.
You want to start with power rankings right now?
I do. Power rankings. We need a theme song. We'll figure that out one day. But listen, I go six. Because there's that team that's right outside that top 5. You know, power rankings is our top 5. But I want to go 6. And right now, my 6, I forgot. I wrote this down, you know, earlier, and I forgot I left 6 at 2 teams right now, so I'm going to have to make a decision. And number 6, the 2 teams I wrote down, I'll say that, is the 49ers and the Dolphins. I'm going to put the Dolphins at 6, and I'm going to put the 49ers at 7, being as though the 49ers are on a 3-game skid right now. And more importantly, what kind of led me to the Dolphins, even though they haven't beat a good team this year, they do have a great quarterback. They do have an MVP caliber offensive player of the year winner right now in Tyreek Hill. And I think that that offense is confident enough to go against any defense in this league. Whereas Brock Purdy, as much as I like and respect him, and you can go back and listen to the files, I've said nothing but good things about him. He's not Tua Tagovailoa, and they don't have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and so I'm gonna give that to the Dolphins. But they didn't make the top 5 of the power rankings. At number 5, this team wasn't in here last week, and they jumped in here after beating the Bills on Sunday Night Football and showing that when Joe Burrow is healthy, this is one of the best teams in the National Football League. Shout out to the Cincinnati Browns. Cincinnati Browns is crazy. Cincinnati Bengals. Shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals. An AFC North team in probably the toughest division in the league. All 4 teams are in the playoffs if it were to start today. I said this earlier, forced 2 turnovers on that Bills team, an interception from Allen and a fumble from their tight end. They're looking good. At number 4, Detroit Lions. This is a team who was embarrassed. We spoke about it with Ev by the Ravens, who we'll see on this power rankings list a little later. But that Lions team has, if not the coach of the year, you know what I'm saying, and Dan Campbell and what he's been able to do and turn this franchise around. They've got a quarterback who doesn't make a lot of mistakes, man. Jared Goff, as much credit as you want to give him or not, you have to admit the fact that since he's come in the league, whether you call him a system quarterback or not, and he was with Sean McVay's offense, he's with the Lions now, and Dan Campbell is by far a quarterback, far from, I should say, a quarterback guru. So there's no like system. Ben Johnson is running a great offensive scheme there, yes, but there's no like QB guru system that's got Jared Goff doing this. This is Jared Goff and who he is as the number 1 pick of the 2016 draft. Well, we can't forget. This is a guy who came in from Cal, who was highly coveted as a good decision maker and a highly accurate passer to football. And he's done so. He's done so and made a Super Bowl appearance, almost won a Super Bowl against Bill Belichick and the Patriots. So let's have some respect for a guy like Jared Goff. At number 3, Kansas City Chiefs.
Damn, do we have the same
after a win against the Miami Dolphins, which wasn't super impressive. It was impressive because you go on international and you beat a good team in the league who cracks the top 10. But at the same time, man, that is a team who held the Dolphins to 0 third down conversions in the first half and 0 points, but also put up a lousy second half with no points. And that offensive second half and the pressure that was able to get to Patrick Mahomes and throw them off their rhythm, like it seems to me that if you get enough pressure on Patrick Mahomes, that might be the formula, And typically that's the formula, yes, for every other football team, but he doesn't have playmakers on this team, right? Kelsey's there, right? But you're relying on a guy like, Rashee Rice, rookie, Sky Moore, second-year player, McCole Hardman, coming off of he started with the Jets and now he's here. And so it's just not so much to work with if you're Mahomes. And when you're under pressure, you have to throw it to those you trust. And when Kelsey's, double, triple teamed all game, he's still going to do what he does as the best tight end this NFL might have ever seen. But we got to be real about shit. So they're at 3. At number 2, who was number 3 last week, the Ravens have moved up. Impressive win this past Sunday. Lamar Jackson's just done it again. Seahawks is a good team. Seahawks, I have them at 8. I got the Seahawks at 8 right now. So, going in and dominating a top 10 team, running the ball all over them, not letting them run the ball, which is their specialty, it has to count for some. And embarrassing the Lions at number 4, and then embarrassing this top 10 team last week, they've got a lot of impressive wins. And I talked to you earlier about this team and how Lamar Jackson, and Ev was saying this, Lamar Jackson's playing phenomenal MVP-type football. He threw the ball in guys' hands, and they weren't able to catch the ball. These are games we could have won. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, who might even get to that number 1 spot before the season ends. At number 1, got to keep it real, Philadelphia Eagles, man. Impressive win against the Cowboys this past Sunday. Jalen Hurts continues to ball out. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and the usual suspects continue to help him out. And that defense, man, we knew it was going to be trouble. They have a defensive rookie of the year in Jalen Carter up front causing havoc. They're dealing with Nakobe Dean's Liz Frank. Is it N'Kobe Dean, or I think it is N'Kobe Dean? But he's dealing with a Liz Frank injury, and he doesn't get a lot of playing time. But it just kind of sucks to see. However, this team, no matter which way you slice the cake, we're 8-1. Beat us
There it
or
is.
be quiet. That's my power rankings. We're going Bengals, Lions, Chiefs, Ravens, Eagles. Beat them.
Hmm. Who'd you have at 6 again?
I put the Dolphins at 6 and the 49ers
Okay,
at 7.
that's right. That's right. That's right. All right, so we have very similar power rankings this week. I did put Jacksonville at 6. I'll give you guys a 6 this
Ooh.
week. I didn't do it last week. I
Yeah.
put Jacksonville at 6. I really like what they're doing, 5-game win streak. Like Ev was saying, you almost don't want to trust them, but there's just something different about the Jacksonville team this year, I will say. At 5, I got the Cincinnati Bengals. Healthy Joe Burrow looks like a Super Bowl run to me, if you're asking. No one's asking, but I'm telling. At 4, we got the Detroit Lions. Like you said, Coach of the Year candidate Dan Campbell taking these guys from scratching, barely not making the playoffs last year to, we're looking good this year. We're looking very good this year. Whew, it's hard to do. At 3, I got to put the Kansas City Chiefs. They did fall in my power rankings this week. Like you said, it was a win is a win, as they say, but that second half was scary. They literally the same formula that they had the first half against Miami. Miami kind of did that formula against them in the second half, and it
Yeah.
proved to be effective. They didn't score in the second half. Did just enough defense did just enough to get the win. At 2, ours are switched around. I do have the Eagles at 2, and I have the Ravens at 1, just based on how dominant they are. Just I'm gonna quote Ev, beating the mess out of these teams. And as the defending AFC champion, I'm scared. The Ravens are not a team that I want to see. They run the ball, they pass the ball, they defend the ball, special teams, all aspects of the game, as they say in the league. Total domination. Total domination. Can't be ignored, can't be overlooked. So once again, I got Jacksonville at 6, Bengals at 5, Lions at 4, my Kansas City Chiefs at 3, Philadelphia Eagles at 2, Baltimore Ravens at number 1.
Yeah, man. Great power rankings, man. Let's get us out of here.
There it is. Hey, shout out to the San Jose Sharks. Got their first win of the season the other day in the NHL against the Philadelphia Flyers. 0-10. Almost. A lot of people were saying, "Hey, 0-11. It's going to happen again." Even I'm not going to lie. I thought it would happen again. I said in the group chat, you were there, June. I said, "Be careful.
Yeah.
They will probably lose, but just be careful." And
Definitely.
some people heard, some people didn't. Some people won some cash, some people didn't, and that's the beauty of gambling.
Yeah. Shout out this week. I got that Ravens fan. I'm not sure if you saw that Ravens fan who made a carpet for Lamar Jackson. He was in the stands and fucking full body cutout carpet of Lamar Jackson. That's dedication. And one of the sideline representatives for the Ravens actually brought it to his attention and was like, "Yo, this guy wants to give you this carpet." And Lamar's like, "Hell yeah, man, bro, I want that carpet, bro. Yeah, let me get that. So, shout out to Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, and the whole organization for being what they are right now. It's what I thought they would be. I'm a proud watcher of the Baltimore Ravens. As a Broward County native, we have to show support for Lamar Jackson. So, yeah, man, until he wins that Super Bowl, I'm gonna be hoping for it. I don't care if I'm a Colts fan. I'm a supporter of the hometown at the end of the day. And also shout out to my barber, because I'm gonna see him tomorrow. And he didn't get, I didn't get to look my best tonight. I hope my takes were good, but by Monday, I'll be back.
There it is. As always, ATS is here to bring you the real in sports. Like, share, subscribe, Instagram, Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube. We're here 2 to 3 times a week, and it's always for the real in sports. My name is Small Town AP, your co-host, your host. See you soon, June. Mr. Heaton 5 himself on the other end. Shout out to Ed that joined us momentarily. Shout out to all the viewers, listeners, if you're listening to this on your streaming platforms. Appreciate you as well. We'll see you next time.